Hello?
Can we hear you? Or no? I'm not sure why we can't hear you.
There are times where you need to add things in, like turn the microphone on. I haven't done that.
Hello, Mark.
Hello.
How are you, sir? Have you been here the whole time?
No, we've just joined. We were late coming to the party.
Oh, okay. Well, let me just catch you up. So what we're trying to figure out is what is the upright way of living. We've got this teaching here in Pirkei Avot, which you can see.
Yeah.
Now on your screen, and what the question that we're trying to deal with is, first of all, apologies to anyone who watches this later. We forgot to click record at the beginning. What is the right path that a person should choose for himself? So we're trying to just guess what the right path is, because what we've said is it hasn't asked the question, what is the righteous path? How do you become a tzaddik? It hasn't asked that. It's asked what is the right path, the upright path.
Is it
so we've had
suggesting
honesty and we've had integrity so far.
Is it suggesting there might be a different path for each person?
Oh,
And there are many paths. Probably you choose one that is right for you.
I like that a lot. I think we'll see that does tie into to the answer. You just give me 1 second. I'm just going to go and close one of the doors.
Yeah.
And he's back. So let's have a look at the answer that the Mishnah says. The Mishnah says like this: whatever is honourable to one who chooses it, and honourable in the eyes of others. All right, or in the Hebrew, kol shehi tiferet le'oseha v'tiferet lo min ha'adam. So one of the things that that gets picked up over here is coming off what Peter was saying. It is kind of it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, and it's not a one-size-fits-all answer. One has to analyze what is bringing them the meaning or the feelings and right emotions in life, and balance that with what people would be expecting of him. So some people use this as a springboard to talk about following the golden mean, not drifting into extremism. We all know that we have to, for example, we have to be good people, we have to be generous, and we have to share. But we also know that one has to strike a balance when they're doing that. If you're stingy, it doesn't work, because then you're not sharing with people. And so it might be honorable to you, it might be good for you and pleasurable for you because you've got so much, but in the eyes of others, it's not going to be any good because you're not sharing with anybody. But on the other side, where if you're overly generous, then that's going to be great for everybody else because they're all going to have things that they can benefit from. But you won't be left with anything, so that's not any good either. So with all of the midot, with all of the things that we have to try and do in our lives, it's about striking that medium. It's about striking the point at which we are bringing benefit to ourselves and making ourselves feel proud of what we're doing, but at the same time behaving in a way that others are benefiting from our existence as well, which is quite a powerful idea. I don't know if people agree, or if they disagree, or if they think I'm just talking nonsense. For those who are new to this, now is the time to chime in and offer your own insights. Alternatively, I will just carry on talking. One of the other ways in which this gets picked up is that it says shehi tiferet le'oseha, which some translate as things which are kind of desirable and honorable for God, as well as being desirable for people as well. So there's one opinion that says that this is a call to us to beautify our mitzvot. Tiferet is a word that is associated with splendor and glory and beauty. So there's an instruction here that okay, so we have mitzvot to do, and we can just go and do them. But to be able to beautify what we're doing, to be able to, get a beautiful challah cloth and a beautiful challah board and a beautiful kiddush cup, so that when we come to the Shabbat table, we actually kind of feel invested and feel impressed by that which we are about to do, rather than if we've just got like a plastic cup and and a little roll and whatever else. So there's an idea of kind of investing and beautifying the practices that we do, the rituals that we do, because in so doing, it becomes a happier part of your existence. That's one of the other things that gets picked up on as well. All right, so as we move into the next part of the Mishnah, it gets really, really interesting, and it's such a shame that it doesn't that you can't see both pages here. But I'll see if I can fix that before we need it. The next thing that it says is Veheve Zahir b'mitzvah kala k'vachamura she'ena tayodea matan scharan shel mitzvot. It says like this: be as meticulous, be as careful when you are performing a minor mitzvah as you would be if you were performing a major mitzvah, because we don't know what the reward is for the mitzvahs that we do, for the mitzvah that we do. So, in other words, because we can never be sure what we're going to get big rewards for, what we're going to get small rewards for, we should take care to do the big major mitzvahs and the small minor mitzvahs in the same way, with the same enthusiasm or whatever that may mean. And this as well, this is like a fascinating concept, because I'm surprised no one's like chimed in over here. But who's to say which mitzvot are big and which mitzvot are small? Where's your scale, Rabbi Nick? Well, where are you pulling all of this from? I thought that there's no such thing as a more important mitzvah or a less important mitzvah. I don't know if that's things that people have got in their mind. But if any of you have an answer to this, now's the time to say it.
It can also depend on your level of learning and understanding. That what might be tying in with the pasuk above. That what might be a minor mitzvah to one person may be a major mitzvah to another person.
Mm-hmm. So this, you'll see what I'm doing in a minute. So this imperative, yeah.
I've got a question. Out of the 613 mitzvahs,
yeah,
how many are minor and how many are major? Richard answered the question, because some will be minor, some will be major. But how do you define in Judaism about the 613?
So
are all equal?
So that is 100% the most important key to unlock how to understand this Mishnah, because there's a few ways of understanding this. Number one, we don't really know which ones are major, which ones are minor. I know that we do have concepts that this one brings you long life, and that one brings you this, and that one. But in the I don't know. Just in the middle at the moment. So we do have some kind of a concept of major and minor, but here's the important thing that the way that I see it is that different mitzvot are going to be easier for some people to perform than for other people to perform. So something that is easy for us to do might be very difficult for somebody else to do. So we might think, oh, well, I will, find it really easy to do X, but I'll find it really hard to do Y. And that will be a completely different situation for someone else. So one has to understand that in our scale, it'll be one way. For other people, it'll be a different scale. And one has to find a way of appreciating that there is a balance and there is an equality across all of the different mitzvot. For example, there are mitzvot that are very simple and that are very easy to do. They don't require a lot of great concentration. a great level of physical effort, a great level of monetary sacrifice. And those will be different for different people. For some, that might be giving charity. For others, that might be being honest in business, whatever it is. Other people might find that very, very hard. You've got mitzvot that are really enjoyable. Eating, drinking, it's a lot of fun. Spending time with the family on Shabbat and Yom Tov, that's very fun. And then there are mitzvot that are much harder and require a greater deal of physical, mental sacrifice, such as sitting through one of Rabbi Nick's lunch and learns. You know, something like that could be a lot harder. So what one has to do is to appreciate the significance of every single mitzvah that we do, whether it's light or whether it's heavy, whether it's easy, whether it's hard, whether it's major in our eyes, minor in our eyes. We have to understand that anything that we do is profoundly significant and profoundly amazing. That means that we shouldn't just kind of say, you know, oh, you gave a tenner to charity, and someone picks you up and says like, oh, that's amazing, you gave a tenner to charity, and he was like, please, it was nothing. Yeah, it was an easy thing to do. It was nothing. Instead, we're being recommended to understand that even something that comes naturally and easy to us is a major accomplishment and something phenomenal we've been able to achieve, to be able to do that mitzvah. So there's a caution, but we're being encouraged to understand that whatever the scale is in our heads, however easy we think something might have been and however hard something might be for us to do, we have to understand that all of the mitzvot are extremely important, and to appreciate and to have in our minds how significant and how important they are. Any questions before we move on?
You're saying basically because it's a mitzvah that's difficult to do, doesn't mean to say it's got more weight than one that is easy to do. You can't count on that.
Well, the trick is to do them all, because you can never really be sure what's going to carry a great deal of reward for you and what's not going to carry a great deal of reward for you. I mean, there's an understanding as well also that things which we find really hard to do could very well carry a greater deal of, a greater chunk of reward. If you really push yourself, you really exert yourself to do something, and it's very, very challenging. So then there could be a great deal of reward. But if you dismiss the minor things, the little things, and you think that, oh, I'm not, what good am I going to get out of this, as it were, then we have to understand that the reward for anything that we do is extremely valuable and extremely important, and one just cannot ever truly know the value and the significance of the actions that we do.
When I was pre-bar mitzvah, the rabbi of the shul at the time, when I was in Essex, when I went to shul on Shabbos, he said, I asked him, I wasn't following service, I wasn't, necessarily abiding by every single prayer that was going on, but effectively I asked him. He said to me, if I was to ask you to do anything, it'd be the Amidah and the Shema. And when you make the parity between what you're saying here about mitzvot and the 613, and then what we should do, no matter what age you are, because there's a requirement, certainly from post-bar mitzvah, there's a requirement to try and do as many mitzvot as you possibly can, to be kind, to be caring for your community, given the situation as well, You say that there isn't one that's more important than the other, but if we were to prioritize that, where we should focus our mitzvot doing, how can you then distinguish between what I'm doing here is correct, I'm focusing on X mitzvah rather than Y mitzvah?
That's a really great question. I think the way that I would answer that is, because we have so many mitzvot, and because they encompass so much of the things that we do in life, I think it's really important for a person to be able to speak to themselves and to be able to understand their makeup and understand the things that they find hard and to understand the things they find easy, and one has to self-identify and kind of guide and maneuver themselves in a way where they're doing the things that they feel comfortable with, things that they would never kind of let slip on, but also to try and see, you know, the area where they think, oh, maybe I could give that a go, maybe I could try that out. You know, then there's that challenge in there. A person has to kind of put themselves in the place of this I will try to give it a shot now, or this I will try to learn more about now. The person always has to self-identify and self-analyze. One of the things that I always talk about, so much of Judaism is living mindfully, and I think that the situations that we find ourselves in, I think this is even more the case and even more true, because we are now so self-contained and scrutinizing the way that we behave, and we see a huge ramification on our interpersonal relationships. Certainly if we are surrounded by people in our homes, then there's an even greater level of kind of, I mean, I'm finding this, I'm going to come to this shortly because there's another piece to this mission that I'm finding, but because you are so much more conscious of the way that you talk and the way that you treat people and the impact that it can have on those around you so much more acutely. So we're becoming more mindful in the way that we're living. We're starting to really think about the effects of our actions and the consequences of the things that we do, because now that we're all kind of boxed in together, we can feel the consequences, we can feel the ramifications that much quicker. So life is all about mindfulness. This mission, I believe, what we're saying at the moment is about appreciating who we are, where we are, what we want to achieve, where we want to be. Are we trying to please ourselves? Are we trying to please our Creator? Are we trying to please other people? And trying to find the right balance and tweak the components of our lives to be able to reach the right balances. There's an amazing story that I wanted to share as well on this concept of never knowing where your actions can take you. And before I tell that story, is people hearing a lot of background noise from my end?
It's all fine, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, there's humming.
It's the humming noise.
You can hear noise?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, 1 second. I'm just going to close my door again. My eldest daughter is having her own Zoom conference with children in her class. So this is an amazing story that the community, the Jewish community in Dallas, has now got, I don't know, hundreds, if not thousands of Jewish people living there. It's got a whole Jewish infrastructure, community center. It's got a full-time kollel down there. And the story goes that there was this really wealthy Jewish guy who was getting on a bit, and he hadn't been to Israel before. So he decided he was going to go spend some time in Israel and see the sights and do the touring and do everything that he needed to do. And towards the end of his trip, he went to the Western Wall. Now, this guy was completely not connected. He was not religious, but he went to the Western Wall. And while he was there, he saw this really pious, Haredi-looking Jew praying at the Western Wall. And he was really taken aback to see this guy praying with such devotion, such concentration. And he stood there for a little bit watching him pray. He wanted to talk to him, but the guy was so engrossed and so immersed that he didn't feel like it was right to interrupt. So in the end, he gave up. And when he went back to Dallas, he went to for a haircut at his barber. His barber was Jewish, and he was telling him about his Israel trip. He was telling him about this guy at the cartel. I was just so impressed with the devotion and dedication of this guy, and it really left a big impact on me. And I want to give a really hefty donation to the Jewish community, but I'm not really kind of clued in as to who I should be speaking to and who I should be going to see. So the barber said to him, well, look, you saw this devotedly pious guy at the Western Wall. I would recommend you go and speak to the local Orthodox rabbi. That's probably the most similar to the guy that you saw praying at the wall. So he goes to see the Orthodox rabbi. He ends up making a connection with this rabbi. He ends up becoming very close to him, and he puts up all the money to build the shul, to build the community center, to put all of this stuff in place. And as a result of that, the whole Dallas Jewish community exploded and flourished because of that.
You'd like to come to Bushey?
So that's an amazing story in its own right. But one of the other amazing factors to this is the person I was hearing this story from said, imagine this this guy who was praying at the kotel. One day he dies and he goes upstairs, and God says to him, come and have a look at all your rewards. So he's going through the list of all the mitzvot that he's done, and on here it says that he built the Dallas Jewish community. And this guy's thinking, I don't even know where Dallas is. What do you mean I've built the entire Dallas Jewish community? And then God will say to him, well, yeah, because you were doing this mitzvah, which in your mind might not have been so significant, it was just you going about your daily life, but you were doing the right thing. It had a profound impact that you could have never foreseen and you could have never known about on this one random guy that happened to see you. And because of that, he went on to go and do amazing things for the Dallas community. But that's all because of you. That's all because of you. So if we understand that the things that we do could have huge ramifications, if we behave in a way that is upright and that is honest, and we are giving to others, and we are full of chesed, and whatever it is, whatever action it is that we might do, we can never know what impact that could have on another person. I used to be a youth director in Whitefield in Manchester. And years later, I bumped into one of the boys that used to come to our house over Shabbat. And I saw him at a wedding. And he said to me, I still remember that Dvar Torah that you gave at one of the meals. I said, which Dvar Torah? And he told me the Dvar Torah. And I was like, first of all, I did not remember it. The second of all, I was like, that's a really good Dvar Torah. I might use that. I don't remember what the Dvar Torah now is. But it had left an impact on him, one that I couldn't have foreseen. And you never know what our actions will do. And we may never find out. That's why we have to appreciate that we need to take everything seriously. And we need to, as it says, be meticulous with everything that we're doing, because you just never know what the catalyst and what the spur-on effect will be to the actions that we do.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to ask a difficult question?
Of course you are. It's great because I can see all of the smiles lighting up.
Yeah.
Everyone's
In the
like,
last
hey, that's brilliant.
We've not paused, so that's okay.
In the last week,
Yeah.
my world has completely changed. It's gone upside down. The people I love, I can't give a hug to.
Yeah.
The bread doesn't seem to be on the shelves anymore because everyone seems to be getting there before me. And people are dying, quite literally. I'm having a little bit of a stress trying to understand the Jewish view on the last week.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that are going to die because of this virus. I can't believe the number of people that we know that are going to die. And let's make it closer. I can't believe the number of people in Bushey, our community, who are in the age group of 70, 80, 90, who are really potentially not going to do very well if they catch this. Mm-hmm. And I'm having a huge problem trying to think of what people have done wrong, or what is our view on this? Or do we just have to say, no, we mustn't ask, there is no view, we can't tell you what's going on. I really don't know. It's just, it is what it is, and we've all got to pray very hard that Hashem will change his mind and not bring this terrible plague to us. I also have to say, I love the whole concept of Pesach being postponed because of a plague.
I haven't seen that one. Where'd that come from?
Out there on Jewish Britain.
Sorry?
It's out there on Jewish Britain.
Yeah.
I think I saw something Rabbi Murby posted it or something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
What, Pesach's cancelled?
And Jews don't understand irony.
No.
So here's the thing. First of all, if the question is, why has this happened? Then there's no answer. Because we can't speak on behalf of the Almighty. I know that is a hard thing to swallow and a hard thing to digest. But anyone who says, well, yes, God has brought this to the world because of A, B, and C, you can't trust that they are speaking with any kind of prophecy and any kind of accuracy. Because if we've not been told explicitly why something has been brought, then we can't say what the reason is for the fact that it has been brought. The question really is what is the Jewish response, rather than what is the Jewish view. Not sure whether people are picking up on a feedback loop. I'm not sure how to solve it other than by people muting their microphones. So I'm apologizing if people are getting a feedback loop. But anyway, so what we are finding is that our Jewish response has to be one where we really pay attention to the guidelines and the advice that we are being given by the government. And it becomes our responsibility and it becomes our Jewish imperative to make sure that we abide and that we honor those rules. We also, our Jewish response, who are vulnerable, we make sure that the people who have to be isolated and cannot move around freely, we have an imperative as Jews, as an outgrowth of the crisis, to make sure that we are supporting and helping and volunteering and doing whatever we can to help those who are really, really struggling. That's the Jewish response. And then beyond that...
On that note, I've got to go because I'm going to go up, open up the shul for people to collect their stuff in the locker.
Thank you very much,
soon.
Richard.
Bye.
Thank you for all the work that you've been doing.
Richard.
Pleasure.
Bye.
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 Bye, Richard.
Keep safe.
So that's one of the Jewish responses, is that we have to take this seriously and we have to be helping where we can. One of the other things that we can perhaps
Isn't that just a response of anybody who has a responsibility, who takes life? Is that a Jewish response? Of course we've got to do that, but that would be the same if I was a one-legged, half-blind Catholic. I would still have to be responsible. That would be a religious overview. That would be a sensible view of someone who is within a community. I'm thinking more of, where do we go with leadership? Whose responsibility is it to look further ahead of what may happen? How do we deal with the community? Because I'm not sure that it is only the responsibility of the Rabbonim, brilliant as they are, because I'm not sure that Rabbonim should be seen as teachers, which is what you're doing at the moment, rather than leaders who have the experience and view of how things are going to be in 3 or 4 weeks' time. And I wonder, in the shul, who is actually looking at these things, if there's anybody looking at it.
There most certainly is. The first thing that I would say is
comforting
that we receive on a regular basis the communications, also via head office as well, of all of the government guidelines, the government recommendations, medical advice, and that is what was guiding us in the lead up to the. Sorry, come look at this. I'm just getting it in my ear. But on top of that, we've got 200 volunteers who are putting themselves forward, some of whom have got strong leadership skill sets to take on the responsibility for making sure that our community can ride this wave. And everyone is chipping in, and everyone is feeling the responsibility, and everyone is taking steps to do whatever they can to put themselves in the right positions to help.
I think, can I add to what you said there, Rabbi Nick? I think that it's fair to say I don't necessarily see Rabbi Nick and Rabbi Feldman as the people at the helm necessarily teaching us, guiding us, and the big and almighty, their decision in the final path on the way we lead our Jewish lives. I see them as the keys to the many ways in which we can volunteer to give back what we've all received over the years. And I think that, to echo Rabbi Kett's point, there are hundreds of volunteers, there are several, tens of people who are daily, hourly, even minute by minute going on as we sit here now. I know for a fact that there are teams going out shopping for people that can't get out. And I think that's not necessarily been orchestrated by Rabbi Feldman, by Rabbi Feldman, by Shira, by Rabbi Nick, etc. And I think that for me, the community mitzvah is just being the community, and that in its simplistic form is the way that it's formed. And I would like to ask a question, if I may. You were talking about mitzvahs, and Paul asked about what our Jewish response is, and Hashem, what he, she, the Almighty has provided us in this current time. How do we as Jewish? My question is, how do we as Jewish people, we are obliged, or we are seen to need to live by the 613 mitzvot? Why should I, be it whether I'm religious or non-religious, abide by any of those 613 mitzvot if Hashem has provided this awful scenario? If we want to contextualize it as a plague, if we put a little bit of a spin on it, given what's coming in a few weeks' time. But why should I do my part if Hashem is not providing me the tools to be able to do it accordingly, if that makes sense?
What do you mean that he's not providing you?
So the Almighty has brought upon us this scenario in some way, whether it by the Almighty, whether it by whatever means, but we are set to live by and deliver the 613 mitzvot as Jews. But if Hashem is challenging us and finding ways to keep us on the right path by putting hurdles in our way, and we'll call this a hurdle, why should I do the mitzvot that is being given down from Hashem if he or she is the person that is giving us and is the instigator of this terrible scenario?
It's a really profound question, Mark. Much more than Paul's.
I just want to answer maybe Paul. I can't see him at the minute. I wanted to say during centuries we always had diseases. Even in my lifetime as a married couple, I'm not going that far back, we had la vache folle, we had a mad cow disease, we had all diseases, and we get on top of it eventually. We get on top of it and we come out of it. So it's always been diseases all centuries. It's not something new. This one in particular is worse, but we always have some kind of diseases. So this is my answer to the two gentlemen. I just heard what they got to say. Now you can say what you've got to say, Rabbi.
Thank you very much. So Mark, you were basically saying, you can either take this current climate, or as Rita was saying, you could take any of the diseases that have come throughout history. And you could say, why should I do my bit if God makes it so blinking hard? But therein lies the challenge of life, as it were. In fact, we see it in the very words that we've been looking at today, is that we have the choice, right? The mitzvot and the reward for the mitzvot is there on a plate if we want it. It's up to each individual to decide if they are connecting in that way, and feeling that whatever gets thrown at them, that there is still a loving Father who's watching over us, still believes that there is a reward and a benefit for everything that we do, and ultimately it is our choice to buy in or to opt out. One of the things that we have discussed in the past is that Hashem throws all kinds of challenges at us, and if we just take diseases and viruses as one example, again, we're not in the business of finding the Jewish reason, but we are in the business of finding the Jewish answer. So whatever Hashem throws at us, if we understand that we are all connected, and if we understand that we have an imperative to do whatever we can to help people, then whatever gets thrown at us, the fact that we are embracing and fighting, so to speak, as a community to make sure that everyone is taken care of, then we're being handed these opportunities, as it were, of chesed and of mitzvah. Granted, there's a great deal of pain and challenge that comes with it, but nonetheless, we can put ourselves poised in position to be able to help. And this particular virus, I think with all of these situations, it's always about looking at the way that it's impacting our lives and then figuring out what it is how it is that we need to respond. It is 100% true that there are categories of people who are very, very vulnerable. And all those people, we have to make sure to insulate and isolate and make sure that they have what they need without having to be put into contact with people that could harm them and who could end up infecting them, right? So even though there's a great challenge, and even though there's a lot of pain, and even though there's a lot of risks, right, we nonetheless have the imperative to do what we can and to put what's in place to make sure that people are okay. We've often remarked in our lunch and learn setting, in the context of global poverty, you can say, like, why does God bring poverty to the world? And we identified actually that if everybody in the entertainment industry and the sporting industry were to give even 10% of their money to fighting global poverty, there'd be enough money, there's enough food, there's enough resources in the world to put an end to it. But ultimately, it comes down to human choice as to whether or not we pick up the baton and whether or not we do what is necessary and what is required to be able to ease the global suffering. And I think that's a similar challenge to the one that we're facing now. Paul was alluding earlier to the fact that, it's very difficult to get things off the shelves. There's definitely enough food to go around. We just need people to stop panic buying. There's definitely enough money to go around. We just need to make sure that it goes to the right places. So even though it's Hashem who's bringing the illness, Hashem is also providing the cure, right? Maybe not yet in the term of a vaccination, but certainly the cure of human decency, of human generosity, of making sure that things can be in place to help those that either need to be protected from the virus or so that they can be isolated from the virus. There's a lot of cures that are already there, and it becomes the human choice to decide how we're going to react and how we're going to take it forward and how we're going to band together and make sure that people are okay.
All right, can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why do we link this virus back to Hashem? Like Hashem has brought this upon us. Surely it's man's bad practice that's caused this in animal husbandry and so on. Why is it that we involve Hashem with the virus?
Well, he definitely knows what's going on.
I
And for people who struggle with the question of why Hashem, this all loving and good God, allows suffering to happen in this world, then this crisis is just going to heighten that question. But there is one interesting thing here, because I never know how to address this, and I never know how to mention it, but I just want to throw it out there, that even with, and this was actually something that was mentioned by someone who's suffering from coronavirus, middle-aged guy, so he's not, I don't believe he's in any considerable danger, but he is suffering from the virus. And he said, we have to also consider the fact that whatever Hashem has thrown at us, he has decided that it shouldn't affect children. Right? Whatever this virus is doing to people, for some reason, it is not of considerable risk to children. It's not of considerable risk, apparently, to young, otherwise healthy people. And so, a person, if they're going to ask the question of why is God allowing it to happen, I think there also has to be that question of why is He allowing it to happen in this way. And I think that, you know, if one is going to ask one question, they have to ask the other question as well. And if they're going to feel angry and upset that Hashem has brought it to the world at all, then how does it impact the level of anger and upset when weighed up with the fact that it could have been a whole lot worse? Other illnesses and other diseases and other viruses would attack everybody and create great difficulties and illnesses for people of all ages and all stages and all the rest of it. And yet, what we're seeing with this particular one is that some are more vulnerable than others. Discussion and worth putting into people's reflections. I don't know what people think. Yeah, a lot to think about, a lot to reflect on. I've noticed, by the way, that for the last 10 minutes or so, the Feldmans have been hiding in the corner. So if they want to pop up and say anything, we'd love to hear what you've got to say as well.
Rabbi, I just want to say a shkoyach. Really, thank you for that. I really appreciated you to come to us. A video link is absolutely amazing. We will try to go, I won't say every day, but we will try to come again very, very soon.
I'll be back on Thursday with this.
Yeah.
And I'll keep the Lunch and Learn group apprised of who's going to be on each day so that people know what's going on.
Right, okay. At least we got in. I'm very happy we got in as well. So we're now in the Zoom, so that's good. Right.
And you should know as well, Rita and Peter and everyone, 11 o'clock till 12 o'clock is, if you click into the Zoom chat, it's just going to be kind of an open chat zone. We've called it the coffee room, and anyone that just wants to catch up with people, there's an opportunity then to do that.
Thank you.
Rabbi Nick, thank you so much. I've enjoyed listening to you. You've not been on camera just because I've been making pancakes as we were speaking, but I've really been enjoying the questions and the conversation. And it's been really interesting to hear.
They put me through my paces, Reverson. I don't know if they do this when you do Lunch and Learn as well. We'll see, but they enjoy putting me through the paces. Great. I'm going to stop the recording here, guys, and then we'll.
Take care, everyone. Stay well.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank you very much.